interwebs, I am still back on camera with my weird face covering to hide the fact that I look like the Crimson Chin underneath this because of my recent surgery, so deal with the ridiculous look just a little bit longer. I hope it's fun for all of you, because it's fun for all of me despite the itchiness of this beard. But regardless, I am on camera today because I wanted to talk to you all about a movie that I watched last night that honestly I thought was fan-freaking-tastic and one of my favorite movies of the year so far, and that is Amazon Prime's recently released film, Emergency. This movie was honestly, I think, one of the most moving films that I have watched this year, probably second only to Everything Everywhere All at Once. And I want to highly recommend it to all of you out there who, if you have not heard of it or have not seen it, I think it is really, really worth your time. What this movie is about is it technically bills itself as a comedy film. I mean, if you watch the trailers, a lot of what you'll get is like this idea that it's like kind of a road trip movie, kind of similar to the old Simon Pegg film, The World's End. Because the whole idea of this film is we have two black college students, who are about to graduate from their college and are having one last night together where they're going to do this very famous party crawl where they're going to go to all these different parties in one night and they're going to get drunk and wasted, and it'll be a good way to celebrate the friendship, the fact that they are going to graduate, and they get sort of embroiled in some higher stakes stuff that sort of prevents them from being able to just go right through this party crawl that they are going on. And all that sounds very similar to the comedy movie The World's End, right? Where we had characters who were trying to go and do this pub crawl, but then got embroiled in an alien invasion. And a similar situation happens here, where we have these two kids come home, and they find a white girl passed out on their floor who is very clearly sick and needs to go to the hospital. But obviously we have two young black men who have a white girl in their home who clearly looks like she was drugged, possibly hurt or harmed, and they sort of realize, we call the cops, there's a very real chance that we might actually be shot and killed because of the way that police sort of see and view black people in our society, and sort of view black people as inherently violent, the sort of believing that they would harm the white woman. And what this ends up leading to is initially a very comedic setup where these characters try to figure out how to get her to the hospital without having to call the police. And there are a lot of good funny jokes and a lot of sort of good hijink comedy that goes into this. But as the film progresses, you start to realize that this movie is slowly transitioning from a comedy into a drama. Because as you watch and things just get build up and build up and build up, and you realize there's no way that this ends well for anybody. Because the way it looks, even though these two guys are just trying their best to take care of somebody in the situation they are placed into, there's no way that someone like a police officer would come into the situation, see what's going on, and ever believe them. That they didn't try to harm this white girl because of the biases within our society. And you start to have this deep, unsettling anxiety that builds up throughout the film. And it just works so well to play off of the expectations that if this was a movie about two white people, we would never have to worry about that. It would never be a question of the danger that they have been placing themselves in through misinterpretation and bias of our society. But because it's two black men placed in the same sort of comedic hijinks that we would see two white characters get involved in, there's an implicit danger. And it also dovetails nicely with the different class backgrounds of our two lead characters. One of our lead characters comes from an upper class background. His parents are doctors. He's going to go to Princeton. The other character is, while he's going to a fairly well-off college, is also from a background where a lot of his family has gone to prison. We even see one of his cousins who is on parole from prison in this here. And them sort of having different understandings of their relationship to the police as black men, and different experiences of it, and different awarenesses of it. And the film talks about the differences in those experiences, but how, despite everything, even though they see themselves as having disparate experiences due to their background, they're still both seen as black by the police and by our society. And that people around them, no matter where they come from or who they are, will still just define them by their blackness, and will still just see them for that. And so the film creates a great inter-community conversation around those class differences and understandings and relationships, but also how the world views them regardless of that. And I think the way that the movie displays these understandings is so nuanced and so thoughtful. And it leads to, and I won't spoil it leads to a climax, an action climax that is one of the most powerful scenes that I've ever seen, and I was scared and crying and terrified and just feeling so many emotions at this. But that's not even the heart of the film. Again, I won't spoil. But after the physical climax of the film, there's the emotional climax, where we kind of have our two characters just talk to each other about what happened. And it is one of the most powerful scenes that I have seen this year. There's so much empathy, nuance, thoughtfulness, and understanding, and an understanding of just the trauma that is placed upon black men and how it just will always linger and permeate no matter what happens. It is a rough scene to watch. And yet ultimately the movie understands all of this and yet still finds ways to make you laugh, to make you understand and see the totality of their humanity, and not just define them by singular issues, but allows them to be full people and the way they relate to each other. It is a deep and thoughtful film that I cannot recommend enough. And you will laugh and you will cry. It is a funny film that transitions into a harder film, but still maintains some hopefulness, but also realism as well within all of it. And so for that, I cannot recommend Emergency enough. If this film does not end up on my top 10 best films of the year, I will be shocked. I don't know if it'll unseat Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's just a film that I adored. But damn, is this movie not up there. I cannot recommend enough. I highly recommend you go check it out. Emergency. Have you seen it? I'd love to hear your thoughts down in the comments below. Let me know what you think, and I hope that you, as always, live long and prosper, my friends.